You don't smell the Earthside transit hub until you're inside it. From the outside, it looks like the city just grew a new tumor overnight. A block of heavy concrete, windowless, surrounded by a halo of blinking public safety drones. But step through the security arch and you're swallowed by air that's been strained and bleached and re-scented so many times that the only things that linger are what nobody wants to think about. Spilled cleaning solvent, old sweat, and underneath it all, the sweet copper trace of blood that the machines can't quite scrub from the vents. I badge in just past midnight. The night shift always starts the same. The handoff from the day crew is silent, heads down. Nobody wants to look too long at the guys who clean up after the accidents. If you're unlucky, the schedule routes you to the main receiver bays. That's my post, 6 nights out of 7. Bay 7 is at the end of a long corridor, walls panelled in authority grey plastic, the floor marked with little yellow footprints to keep travellers moving briskly from the sender booths to the receivers. The bay itself is a cavern, all flat white light and steel. At the far end, the receiver plate sits flush with the floor, a dull metal slab the size of a bus, webbed with tiny grooves and hairline seams, ringed with warning labels about extreme heat and hazardous biologicals. This is where people rematerialize after stepping into a matter stream booth thousands of kilometers away. Most arrive whole, some don't. That's my job. To clean up the ones who don't arrive right. What's left behind isn't a body, not exactly, and never all of one. Just tissue, slivers of bone, and viscous red-black runoff pooling along the cracks, a byproduct the engineers call residual matter. The slang among cleaners is simpler: slurry. Sometimes there's so much of it you need to shovel it into a bin. Sometimes it's just a smear, easy to pretend is nothing at all. Tonight it's somewhere in between, a puddle of wet, sticky mass clinging to the grooves, bits of hair tangled in the muck. I set my tools, scraper, mop, solvent sprayer, down by the plate and get to work, breathing through my mouth, counting every second until the next paycheck. They call me a cleaner, and no one ever says that word with respect. At best, I get pity disguised as gratitude. At worst, outright disgust. Even the security guys step aside when I pass, avoiding eye contact like Slurry might rub off on them. But no one ever asks why someone chooses to spend their nights mopping up human sludge. Nobody imagines that maybe this job is the only thing holding someone else's life together. My back aches as I lean into the long-handled scraper, pressing it hard against the steel receiver plate to dislodge the clingy bits. My palms burn, sweat stinging through cracks earned by chemical burns and late nights. People see a middle-aged man hunched over the mop and see failure. Me, I see stability. Every push and scrape, every swipe of disinfectant means Maya gets another dose of gene therapy. Every streak of reddish-black residue disappearing into the drain means my daughter can smile without pain for a few more weeks. I never imagined I'd be this kind of father, selling my soul one night at a time for a little girl's laugh. Maya's condition, stream sickness, CXS the doctors call it, is crueler than any nightmare. It makes her own cells forget how to grow properly, rearranging themselves at random. Some days, she looks normal. Other days, small things change, details only a father would notice, her eyes shifting hue slightly, skin forming patterns of spiderweb veins, hair turning brittle overnight. Every shift, every incident is my desperate bargain against that disease, fighting her disintegration with someone else's. It feels like dark alchemy, trading a stranger's misfortune for my daughter's brief normalcy. But if that's my role in the universe, then I accept it without hesitation, because hesitation means she suffers. As I finish scraping, I kneel to inspect the receiver plate closely, scanning it for imperfections. I was a carpenter once, proud of creating things. I'd run my hand over fresh-cut oak, feeling for uneven spots, polishing until it was perfect. Now my craft is noticing flaws, imperfections, the smallest evidence that the slurry is changing. And lately, it has changed. I see it clearly now. This residue is forming tiny clusters, denser nodules that cling stubbornly to the grooves in the steel, pooling there like scabs. I lean closer, shining my flashlight directly onto it. The beam dances, reflecting off what should be inert matter, but the slurry moves, a contraction as subtle as breath. Impossible. My chest tightens, the ache in my back suddenly distant. I glance at the surveillance camera in the corner and decide to ignore it. Reporting changes means questions, and questions mean trouble. I scrape again, harder. Something resists, tugging back. Adrenaline wakes in me, alert, unsteadying. I stop and stare. A bubble of slurry rises slowly from the crack, trembling and gelatinous, distorting in shape until a darker point forms at its center, shaping itself carefully into something horribly familiar. An eye. A human eye, cloudy and misshapen, stares blindly up at me before dissolving back into liquid. I recoil, almost stumbling. I've seen horror before, but it has always been still, silent, an aftermath. Never this, never something alive and aware. The ache returns to my hands with a sharp pang, sweat turning icy on the back of my neck. My fingers shake as I pour disinfectant liberally, my heart racing hard enough to make my chest feel small. This isn't right. This isn't just another mistake of quantum data, not a routine cleaning. This slurry feels intentional. "Read!" My supervisor, Anya Sharma, interrupts through my wristcom, her voice coldly neutral. "Bay 7 should be clear by now." "Just finishing," I reply, voice calm despite the chaos behind my ribs. "Got some stubborn residue here. Another minute." She doesn't respond, but I can feel her impatience through the silence. I grab my scraper again, forcing my mind into numbness. I've learned this numbness like a second language. It's how I survive. It's a place to retreat, a small fortress of detachment, where the slurry is just matter. Maya's illness is manageable, and my job is just cleaning floors. I breathe slowly, forcing the world into manageable pieces. When I finally stand, Bay 7 gleams cleanly beneath me. The smell lingers, but no longer powerful enough to cling to me. Yet as I leave the bay, locking it behind me, a small sound stops me. It's soft, almost lost beneath the white noise of machines and empty hallways. I pause, straining to listen. It sounds like Maya. My heart twists immediately, instinctively, like a muscle cramping in panic. But that's impossible. She's home, asleep, miles from here. Yet I hear her voice again, clearer, giggling faintly, the way she used to before pain stole it from her. It floats from the bay I've just cleaned, soft laughter leaking out through the seams of the locked door. I want to turn away, pretend it's fatigue or grief playing cruel games with my ears, but the laughter persists, gentle and unmistakably hers. My hand rests on the door's manual release, a battered slab of steel marked Authorized Personnel Only, set into the wall just outside Bay 7. This isn't the kind of door that leads to anywhere interesting. It's just supposed to separate the corridor from the hazard zone while I do my job. Officially, nobody's supposed to open it once the cleaning's done, not until the morning systems check. You open it, you risk tripping alarms, catching the attention of the floor supervisor, and giving the authority a reason to ask questions. Questions here are never about the truth. They're about who to blame and how quickly you can be replaced. But the sound, Maya's laughter, soft and wrong, coming from inside Bay 7, pulls at me in a way that's all instinct. There's no logical reason for it, and that makes it worse. I know every protocol. Finish the cleanup, seal the bay, badge out, go home. If I open this door again, it's not just a breach of procedure. It's a crack in the careful wall I've built between my work and the rest of my life. It's a way for the horror to follow me home, to leak out of the sealed receiver bay and take root somewhere I can't clean it away. I let go of the handle and step back, forcing myself to listen to nothing but my own shaky breath. The laughter fades, leaving only the whir of distant air cyclers and the trace of something unclean on my skin. I turn away and walk toward the showers, knowing that tonight I left something alive behind a locked door. And sooner or later, someone will have to face what's waiting on the other side. The showers burn tonight, hotter than usual, or maybe it's just my skin that's raw, nerves exposed. The chemicals sting as they slide down my shoulders and back, carrying memories of Bay 7 toward the floor drain. But the feeling lingers. That strange moment when the slurry stared up at me, alive. My fingers flex unconsciously, still holding the phantom weight of the scraper. I force myself not to look down, because looking down means seeing what's stuck beneath my fingernails, or imagining it, which is somehow worse. The scan beeps green, and I dress mechanically, my worn work clothes stiff and smelling chemical. They're my armor, a protective layer that signals I'm leaving work behind. But the armor feels thinner every night. The boundary between who I am at home and who I am here getting blurred. I pocket my wrist comm, but I hesitate before turning it back on. A quick flicker of irrational dread passes through me, the fear of messages from Anya about protocol, or a doctor with bad news about Maya. Eventually, habit wins. I thumb it active, and the glow lights my path through the corridors toward the exit. Outside the hub, night air hits my face like a damp cloth. The streets are slick from recent rain, reflecting bright neon signs advertising transit insurance and genetic counseling. The sky overhead is a blank, smudged grey, the moon a distant suggestion behind layers of cloud and airborne dust. Most people are home, asleep or watching authority-approved dramas. I envy their ignorance. Knowing what I know, seeing what I've seen, makes normal life feel like an elaborate charade. The tram that carries me home is nearly empty, just tired, grey-faced people sitting alone, eyes fixed on the screens embedded in their seats, scrolling through meaningless information designed to numb them. They don't know about Slurry, don't want to think about transit accidents or how easily a single transmission error can splinter a life into messy bits. The tram jostles, a smooth vibration beneath my feet. A woman glances up, catching my reflection in the window. She quickly looks away. Cleaners have a look. Haunted, maybe contagious. When the tram doors slide open at my stop, I step out into a block of aging residential towers. These buildings used to look futuristic, sleek monuments promising progress. Now they're tired shells, worn by weather and neglect. My own tower, Unit 219, is halfway down the block. The lobby lights buzz dully, casting uneven shadows over walls stained by years of human touch. The elevator creaks upward, complaining under my weight. Inside my apartment, the familiar scent of home is waiting. Warm air mixed with hints of medicine, laundry soap, and the citrus of disinfectant. It's late, and Maya should be asleep. The sound of her breathing usually calms me, but tonight I feel jittery, on edge. I pause outside her door, listening, hearing nothing but the low hum of the air purifier. Quietly, I step inside. She lies curled under her blanket, dark curls framing her face. I crouch by her bedside, watching the steady rise and fall of her small body, counting breaths as if to reassure myself she's still here, still whole. Even asleep, I notice tiny details. The spiderweb pattern under her jaw, the way her fingers sometimes twitch slightly, restless even in dreams. My mind goes back to that awful eye forming in Bay 7, and I have to force myself not to imagine a connection, a deeper sickness the authority doesn't want us to understand. Her eyes flutter open, barely focused. Dad? I smooth her hair gently, feeling my cracked fingers snag slightly in the fine strands. Hey, Starlight, it's late. Go back to sleep. I dreamed you didn't come back, she whispers, eyes heavy, already drifting again. I'm always coming back, I promise, more for myself than her. I sit with her until she settles, until sleep pulls her deeper again, erasing the anxiety from her face. Only then do I leave the room, carefully closing the door. In the kitchen, I lean against the counter, staring at nothing. For the first time in months, I feel overwhelmed, trapped by the lies I tell myself. My wrist comm buzzes, an alert. Not Maya's doctors, not Anya, just a simple text message from an unknown number. My pulse quickens involuntarily. The message is short, cryptic. Base 7, you saw it too. We should talk. I stare at the tiny glowing words. Someone else knows. Someone else saw. I hesitate, fingers hovering over the keypad, knowing that if I respond, I'll be dragged deeper into whatever nightmare I've glimpsed tonight. But my curiosity, or maybe my desperation, takes control. I type quickly. Who is this? The reply comes almost instantly. Someone who knows the cost of silence. I let the words sit there. Silence has always been my armor, my protection. But tonight, silence feels dangerous, complicit, a threat rather than a shield. Where? I type, barely recognizing my own recklessness. Another immediate response. Level B3, near the maintenance hatch. Midnight tomorrow. I slide down against the kitchen cabinets, feeling the weight of exhaustion and dread. The slurry, the eye, the laughter. It's all connected somehow, and now someone else is reaching out, forcing me to face it. I close my eyes and tilt my head back against the metal, understanding clearly what I've always feared. Eventually, the things you try hardest not to see always find a way to force themselves into your sight. Sleep avoids me like a nervous animal that senses danger nearby. I drift in and out, my thoughts tangled around Base 7 and the cryptic messages on my wrist comm. Every time my eyes close, the slurry takes shape, forming that hideous, cloudy eye, staring blindly back at me. I try to rationalize what I saw, just fatigue, just stress, maybe the first sign my own cells are finally beginning to crack. But I can't convince myself. Morning is a relief, an excuse to give up the charade of rest. Maya's up early, sitting at our small table, poking listlessly at her cereal. She looks pale today, her energy spent before the day has even begun. I pretend not to notice the shift of color in her eyes, lighter today than yesterday, like something slowly draining her from within. Morning, kiddo, I say, forcing warmth into my voice as I pour her juice. She gives me a half smile, weak but genuine. You look tired, Dad. I'm always tired, I joke gently. You know me. Nights cleaning, days worrying. Did something bad happen? She asks quietly, her eyes fixed on mine with uncanny intensity. She always sees through me. I forget sometimes that sickness sharpens perception, makes the mind older than the body. No, I lie smoothly, easily, practiced. Just a messy shift, nothing I can't handle. She nods, but there's doubt lingering in the tilt of her head, suspicion in the way her spoon taps quietly against the bowl. I can't help but see her mother's imprint in her eyes. The same patient, perceptive look, waiting for the truth to leak out from behind my carefully built wall. But truth is dangerous. It spreads, infects, takes away what little protection we have. So I bury it deeper, holding Maya's gaze with the gentle certainty she needs. I have treatment today, she says, quietly shifting topics, resigned and calm. My heart twists at her bravery, at how casually she wears this burden. I know. I'll walk you there, I say, grateful for the distraction. The clinic is a bright white cube nestled between towers of glass and steel, its lobby carefully designed to comfort parents who know better. Everything's soft edges and gentle lights, the walls painted colors that someone once said were calming. They aren't, but no one dares admit it. Maya settles into the chair for her infusion, quiet, eyes fixed on the ceiling as the medication drips into her veins. She never cries, never flinches, just quietly endures. Sometimes I wonder if I'm the weaker one, if she's the one holding me together, not the other way around. After treatment, I drop Maya at school. Watching her slip quietly into the classroom feels surreal, as if there's no place left for me in the normal world. As the school doors close, sealing her inside a safer reality, I turn away and face the grey sky. The hours stretch empty before my next shift, a perfect gap for doubt to settle in. I kill the day with small tasks, mechanical routines, grocery shopping, folding laundry, repairing Maya's shoes, tasks that make me feel useful. The familiar rhythms settle me briefly, but with every hour, my wrist comm presses harder against my skin, an anchor pulling me toward midnight and that unknown contact waiting in level B3. By the time I badge into the transit hub again, night already hangs heavy. Anya's voice comes over my comm as soon as I'm inside, sharp-edged as always. Bay 4 tonight, Reed. Standard cleanup, no issues, understood? Copy, I reply flatly. Anya's never one for conversation, just efficient warnings and commands. She's the kind of supervisor the authority values. Someone who won't hesitate to remove any gear that stops turning smoothly. I've always managed to stay out of her crosshairs, but something about her tone tonight makes me wary. I can almost hear the suspicion beneath her words, like she's already waiting for me to slip. Bay 4 is easy, just traces, smears of organic material that don't seem nearly as threatening as the slurry in Bay 7. I clean methodically, scanning the receiver plate multiple times, half expecting to see something move again. But there's nothing here tonight, nothing alive, nothing staring back, just residue, already drying, already harmless. Midnight approaches faster than I expect, anxiety building steadily as I stash my gear and move silently through the lower levels of the hub. B3 is a maintenance level, a maze of storage rooms and corridors. Only technicians and janitors come down here, and only when something breaks, an area forgotten by authority, as much as anything can be. Near the maintenance hatch, I linger in shadow, checking my wrist comm obsessively. Exactly midnight. The hatch slides open quietly, and a figure emerges, shoulders hunched, twitchy and nervous. It's Frank, the old janitor. I've seen him before, moving ghost-like through the halls, muttering to himself, never speaking clearly enough to understand. He looks up, spotting me, his eyes bright with wary intelligence beneath wild grey hair. "You showed up," he whispers, approaching with an anxious shuffle, constantly glancing behind him. "You sent the message," I reply carefully. "How do you know what happened in Bay 7? He laughs without humor, scratching his temple with a shaking hand. "Bay 7, Bay 0, they're all connected, Ethan. You know it or you wouldn't be here." "Bay 0? I repeat, confusion mixing with irritation. "What's that supposed to mean?" His eyes widen sharply, his voice dropping to a fearful whisper. "Quiet. Not so loud. Bay 0. That's the authorities' dirty secret. The receiver bay they buried. The worst incidents. The things they don't want anyone to see, they send there. Out of sight, out of mind, or so they thought." "You're not making sense," I snap quietly. "What does that have to do with what I saw?" Frank leans close, breath hot with panic. "It's happening again. The slurry's waking up, Ethan. They think they've got it contained, locked away, but it remembers. It's learning, listening." He looks around nervously, then leans even closer, his voice trembling. "I saw it once. Years ago, before they broke me. I know you saw something too. Something alive." "How do you know about that?" I demand, tension tightening my shoulders. "Because you're not the first cleaner they've tried to silence," he says bitterly. "There are signs when it begins. The slurry starts shaping itself, making faces, eyes. It's trying to become something whole again." I feel my skin prickle. "Whole? What do you mean, whole?" Frank shakes his head urgently, eyes wide, pleading. "I don't know yet. But listen, Ethan, watch your back. Anya's watching closer now. She's looking for a reason, and once she finds it, they'll erase you like they erased me. I survived barely. You might not." He steps back into the shadows, glancing anxiously behind him. "Trust no one," he says, voice fading. "And don't open any doors you can't close." Before I can reply, Frank slips away, vanishing into the maze of maintenance corridors. I'm left standing in half-darkness, heart racing, trying to process what he's just told me. Bay 0, Anya. The slurry becoming something whole. It feels too big to grasp. But deep down I recognize the truth in his warnings. Something is waking up. Something terrible that the authority wants buried. Something I've glimpsed only briefly. Something tied deeply to Maya's sickness. and my own fears. I turn to head back to the main levels. The hub feels different now. No longer a place of anonymous accidents, but a hidden landscape of secrets and unseen danger. Every door I pass suddenly seems darker, more threatening, as though at any moment one might slide open, spilling out a truth too terrible to contain. As I climb back toward the surface, Frank's last words repeat in my head, like a lingering curse. The rest of the shift slips by in a haze of distracted motions. I clean mechanically, scrubbing and scraping, each movement disconnected from the next. Frank's warning sticks to me more stubbornly than Slurry ever has. I glance up occasionally at the corners of the bays, half expecting to see cameras shifting to track me, waiting for Anya's voice to come through the comm, summoning me for an explanation. But the cameras stay indifferent. The silence itself feels suspicious now. Thick, watchful. Finally, morning seeps back into the hub, the lights brightening as day shift crews filter in, quiet and tired. I pass a pair of younger cleaners, their eyes hollow from fatigue. They avoid looking at me directly. I wonder suddenly if they have their own secrets, their own encounters with something the authority pretends isn't there. Do they hear phantom laughter, see eyes blinking out from the residue, or is that horror reserved only for me? The moment I step outside the hub, the daylight feels surreal. Normality exists just steps from my nightly nightmare. The street filled with people headed to work, smiling at transit ads promising safe, seamless journeys. The lies we swallow every day. I find myself avoiding eye contact with everyone, afraid they might see the truth written plainly across my face. Maya's already home when I get back, curled up in a chair, reading. She looks better today, her eyes clearer, stronger, even though the edges of exhaustion still frame her expression. She glances up as I enter, and for a moment, everything else, the hub, Frank, the Slurry, recedes. "Good shift?" she asks, setting down her book. "Nothing special," I answer, a practiced lie. "Just glad to be home." Her gaze holds mine longer than usual. "Did you sleep at all last night?" "Enough," I lie again. Lying to her feels wrong, corrosive. But if the truth is poison, the lies are medicine, bitter but necessary. I cross to the kitchen, starting coffee out of habit, even though what I want most is rest. "You don't have to do this forever, Dad," she says quietly from the other room. "I won't always be sick." I pause, staring blankly at the countertop, my heart aching at the optimism in her voice. She believes in a future where illness and Slurry are distant memories, faded nightmares. I want that too, but hope feels dangerous. Hope is fragile, easily shattered. "I know," I say finally quietly. "Things will get better." She nods slightly, eyes returning to her book. And I wonder if she really believes me or if she's simply learned to wear the same armor of comforting lies that I do. I collapse on my bed, fully dressed, too exhausted to strip away the layers of the night. Sleep, when it finally comes, is fractured by dreams of twisting corridors, sealed doors and Slurry taking on familiar faces, mouthing silent warnings I can't hear. I'm woken abruptly by my wrist comm buzzing insistently. I fumble for it, expecting another cryptic message, but instead I find Anya's name on the screen. My chest tightens painfully. I answer cautiously. "Read." Her voice is impatient. "Report in early tonight. Supervisor's office, main level. Do not be late." She disconnects without explanation, leaving me staring at the ceiling. Anxiety coils in my gut. I knew this was coming. Knew the authority wouldn't stay indifferent forever, but having it confirmed feels like stepping into deeper darkness. The hours pass slowly, each minute dragging as I wait for nightfall. Maya senses my tension, watching me carefully from behind the shield of her book. She doesn't ask, doesn't push, simply waits, wise beyond her years, accustomed to reading my silences as clearly as my words. Finally, I rise, pull on my work clothes, feeling their stiffness wrap around me like chains. Maya hugs me tight before I leave, her thin arms squeezing me harder than usual. She whispers, voice muffled against my chest. "Come back safe." I nod, throat tight, unable to answer. Safe feels impossible now. A forgotten luxury. The hub greets me coldly. I badge through quickly, heading directly to Anya's office on the main level, a cube of glass and metal at the end of a short corridor. She sits waiting, crisp and composed, her posture perfect, hair drawn back severely. Authority incarnate. "Close the door," she orders, not looking up from her screen. The door clicks shut behind me, sealing us inside. She lets the silence hang for a moment, deliberately uncomfortable, before finally turning her piercing eyes on me. "You've been seen in unauthorized areas, Ethan. Care to explain?" My mouth feels dry, the lie carefully ready. "Just took a wrong turn last night. Didn't realize I was out of bounds." She tilts her head slightly, skeptical. "Really, just a wrong turn. Into level B3, maintenance access near restricted zones. And this wrong turn conveniently coincides with Frank being down there too." Her words are icy, slicing directly through my feeble excuses. I stand motionless, fighting the instinct to look away. "I don't know what you're implying," I reply carefully, steadily, even though my pulse hammers unevenly in my temples. "I think you do," Anya says, tone turning dangerous. "Frank is damaged goods, Ethan. The authority tolerates him because he's useful as a cautionary tale. Don't become another cautionary tale." She pauses, her eyes boring into mine. "Forget what you think you saw. Cleaners who remember too much don't last long here. Understand?" I nod slowly, feeling trapped. She reads my compliance easily enough, though suspicion still lingers behind her calm mask. "Good," she says evenly. "Tonight, you're assigned back to Bay 7. Thorough cleaning. Leave nothing behind this time." Dismissed, I exit her office, feeling her eyes tracking me all the way down the corridor. Returning to Bay 7 tonight feels like punishment. Or perhaps a test. One I can't afford to fail. Bay 7 waits quietly, the air thick with that lingering smell I've come to dread. I unseal the heavy bay door, stepping onto the receiver plate. It looks clean at first glance, but I see small flecks of dried residue along its edges, traces of the eye I scraped away, evidence of what happened here waiting quietly for me. I spray solvent liberally, feeling its chemical sting fill my lungs. I'm halfway done when my wrist comm vibrates again, discreetly this time. Expecting Anya's scrutiny, I glance down nervously. Instead, it's Frank again. Another short, urgent message. "Look beneath the plate." I stare at the words for a long moment, my heart quickening. Beneath the receiver plate? That's not possible. It's a solid slab, sealed and bolted. But Frank's words run through me, filled with urgency, a promise of revelation and danger. Driven by impulse more than logic, I crouch, running my fingers along the plate's seams, searching for irregularities. My fingertips find a subtle gap, barely noticeable, along the back edge. A small panel, half hidden by shadow. A maintenance hatch, sealed but accessible. I pause, hand trembling slightly. Opening this hatch means crossing another line, stepping even further into Frank's world of shadows and warnings. I glance at the closed bay door, half expecting Anya to appear suddenly, accusing and unforgiving. But no one comes. It's just me, the plate, and Frank's cryptic promise. Gritting my teeth, I insert my multi-tool, feeling metal give reluctantly. The hatch pops loose with a dull click, sliding back quietly to reveal a dark cavity beneath the plate. A sickly sweet odor rushes out, stronger and thicker than anything I've encountered before. I peer inside, using my flashlight to illuminate the interior. My breath catches sharply. Inside the cavity, thick clusters of slurry cling to hidden mechanisms and wiring, twisting and weaving, throbbing with an unmistakable rhythm. Small clusters of what look horribly like miniature organs shift in response to the intrusion of light. And there, nestled in the center, half-formed, is something like a face, eyes closed as if asleep, features disturbingly familiar, like dozens of faces combined into one. I stare, paralyzed by shock and horror. Beneath Bay 7, beneath the veneer of safety and procedure, the slurry is gathering, growing stronger, waiting patiently. Frank was right. This is not random error. It's alive, conscious. The face's closed eyes tremble slightly, as if sensing my presence. I recoil instinctively, slamming the hatch shut, gasping harshly. My mind races, flooded with panic and certainty. I realize that the authority knows exactly what they're hiding beneath these floors, what they're asking cleaners like me to quietly erase. But now I've opened the door Frank warned about, the one I can't possibly close again. I seal the hatch hastily, my whole body tenses for flight, a buried animal urge clawing up my spine, begging me to turn and vanish. But there's no going back now. Frank's words are painfully clear. The slurry remembers. It's waiting, watching, assembling itself from the pieces left behind. My job, my livelihood, everything rests on pretending this is just another accident, but I know deep down it's something monstrous shaped by neglect and silence, growing beneath our feet. I complete the cleaning mechanically, sealing the bay behind me, leaving no visible trace of what I've discovered. Yet the image of that face, formed from the countless remnants of lost travelers, won't fade. When I step back into the corridor, Frank stands waiting in shadow, eyes wide and haunted. "You saw it," he whispers, voice ragged with anxiety. "How long have they known?" I demand, glancing nervously down the corridor. "Why hide it?" Frank shakes his head bitterly. "Since the Kenta 3 incident. They buried it, tried to burn it out, but it never really died. The slurry remembers everyone it ever was, Ethan. It wants back into our world." I lean closer. "How do we stop it?" Frank looks away, suddenly frail. "There's only one way, Bay 0. The authority built it as quarantine, but it's really a graveyard. That's where it lives, the main mass. Kill that, and you kill the echoes everywhere else. But you'll never come back from it. No one ever does." I nod slowly, clarity coming like a cold knife. "But if I do nothing, Maya will always be sick. Everyone who uses transit is in danger." Frank grips my arm tightly, his eyes glistening. "Bay 0 is sealed, guarded. The authority will kill you if they find out." "I don't have a choice," I say quietly, thinking of Maya's tired eyes, her small body fighting every day to hold itself together. "Tell me how to get there." Frank sighs heavily, resigned. "Follow the drainage lines from B3. They lead straight down to 0, but Ethan, prepare yourself. It's waiting." The next shift comes swiftly, like a blade falling. Anya assigns me quietly, her eyes watchful, her suspicions simmering beneath the surface. I say nothing to betray myself, moving quickly to gather my gear and head downward, deeper into the hub than I've ever ventured. Frank's directions lead me through narrow tunnels slick with moisture, lit only by emergency lamps set at distant intervals. I finally reach the sealed bulkhead of Bay 0. The control panel flashes red, warnings flickering insistently. Ignoring them, I punch in the override code Frank gave me, praying silently that it works. The bulkhead slides open slowly, groaning like a wounded animal. A rush of foul air hits me, 1,000 times stronger than the slurry's usual stench, sweet decay mingling with something electric and alive. I step inside cautiously, flashlight raised, illuminating a nightmare. Bay 0 is vast, cavernous. At its center sits the largest receiver plate I've ever seen, but the plate is barely visible, buried beneath a towering mound of living flesh, faces, limbs, eyes, mouths, endlessly forming and dissolving, shifting in silent agony. The amalgam surges beneath its own surface, a restless shift as countless eyes blink and settle on me. It knows I'm here, knows my purpose. "Ethan," it whispers, a chorus of distorted voices, a flood of memories crowding my mind. I stagger, overwhelmed by fragments of pain, longing, grief, echoes of lost lives trapped forever. "You're not alive," I gasp, pushing through the memories. You're just leftovers, pieces lost in transit. You don't belong here. It shifts again, faces briefly recognizable, tortured and pleading. We are many. We belong nowhere. Give us form. No, I whisper, forcing myself closer, gripping the solvent canister tightly. You hurt my daughter, poisoned her, infected her body. You can't have us. It was not us. It hisses. It was your authority. They knew. Acceptable losses, acceptable poison. I grit my teeth, bitter fury rising. The amalgam's words confirm my worst fears. Maya's sickness wasn't random. It was negligence, greed, cruelty hidden behind convenience. I raise the canister, fingers trembling as I prime the ignition switch. The amalgam twists violently, its voices rising into an anguished chorus. It lashes out, ropes of sinew and bone snaking from its bulk to grasp desperately at my arms and legs, hauling me toward the mass. I fight, every instinct straining for survival, for any chance to return home. I hit the ignition, spraying solvent onto the writhing flesh, sparks igniting instantly. Fire erupts, spreading rapidly. The amalgam screams, a deafening endless howl as flames consume its chaotic body. Faces melt away, voices fall silent, replaced by the hiss of burning tissue. But it holds me tightly, refusing to release, intent on dragging me into oblivion with it. I struggle, choking on smoke, vision blurring. Fire crawls toward me, pain slicing into my limbs, consciousness slipping. With my last ounce of strength, I tear free, stumbling backward toward the bulkhead. As I collapse against the far wall, the bulkhead slams closed, sealing the inferno behind impenetrable steel. Smoke and flames batter uselessly at the barrier, unable to reach me. I slump to the ground, coughing violently, staring numbly at the sealed door, knowing I've won. Knowing I might not survive to savor it. My wristcom buzzes, flickering weakly. Maya's face fills the screen, a recorded message playing quietly. Dad, I love you. Come home safe. I close my eyes, tears mixing with soot, regret and love in my heart. I did it for her. Stopped the amalgam, but the cost feels unbearable. Anya will find me soon. The authority will bury this again, deeper, more hidden. But they can't hide everything. I glance at my comm, still recording. The footage of Bay Zero burns itself into the device's memory, evidence no one can erase, truth that will find its way out. Maya will know why I did it, what it meant, why her father fought monsters hidden behind convenience and silence. Sorry, Starlight, I whisper hoarsely, sinking into darkness. This is the only way I knew to keep you safe. My eyes open to the muted glow of emergency lights. Everything aches, deep and raw, every breath like swallowing shattered glass. The bulkhead of Bay Zero remains sealed, but even through the thick steel, I can feel the smouldering pulse of what I've done. The amalgam's monstrous core extinguished, the slurry's endless hunger silenced. The cost presses on my chest, tighter than any wound. There's no way out for me, no quiet slipping back into routine or pretending this never happened. I knew it from the moment I opened the hatch beneath Bay 7. I chose this path, knowing exactly where it would end. My comm lies on the floor, still blinking weakly. The footage of Bay Zero's secret waits within, proof too damning, too horrifying for the authority to erase easily. That's my only hope now, not for me, but for Maya, for everyone else who suffered silently beneath the transit network's perfect facade. Footsteps come down the corridor, firm and deliberate. I close my eyes briefly, gathering strength as the sound draws nearer. When I open them again, Anya stands above me, her expression unreadable, composed as ever. 2 authority security officers flank her, their faces hidden behind mirrored visors, weapons calmly aimed in my direction. Ethan, she says quietly, voice cool but oddly respectful. You've caused quite the disturbance. I did what needed doing, I rasp, my voice barely carrying. You knew what was down there. You knew what it was doing to people. She tilts her head slightly, almost thoughtfully. We maintain balance, Ethan. Your actions disrupted it. You forced our hand. I forced the truth out, I reply bitterly, gripping the comm in my hand. No more hiding. The slurry, the amalgam, Maya's illness, all your acceptable losses. People deserve better. Anya's eyes flicker down to my wrist comm, then back to me, the slightest tension around her eyes betraying concern. She already knows. Everyone does. The broadcast has gone out. The secret is gone. She draws a slow breath, her composure barely cracking. You've made your choice, Ethan. There's no undoing it now. I nod, feeling the weight of it settle through my battered body. The world knows what you've done. They'll never look at you the same way again. She sighs, and for a fleeting moment, there's a hint of something almost like respect, or maybe just resignation in her face. Then you know what comes next. She nods sharply to the guards. I brace myself, expecting gunfire or violence, but they simply step aside, allowing another figure to approach. Frank, pale and shaking, dragged forward by another officer. Anya looks down at me. Frank helped you. He'll share your fate. Understand, Ethan, every action has consequences. This is yours. No! I choke out weakly, guilt slicing deeper than any pain. He didn't do this. He warned me not to come. Yet here you both are, she replies, voice like ice. 2 more losses, easily forgotten. Your daughter's medical coverage will continue, quietly funded. You, however, disappear here. She nods again. The officers drag Frank forward, forcing him to kneel beside me. His eyes meet mine briefly, scared but resigned. We tried, he whispers hoarsely. You did the right thing. I close my eyes again, grief roar in my throat, tears burning behind my eyelids. Maya's face fills my mind, smiling, unaware that today marks the moment her father disappears, never to return. Anya steps back. The guards raise their weapons, and in that brief eternal moment before the shots ring out, my only comfort is knowing the footage will leak. Someone, somewhere, will see the truth. They'll see the monster beneath the polished lies, and maybe it will make a difference. I hear the crack of weapons, sharp and brief. Pain hits swiftly, then fades. Everything growing distant, quiet, numb. Frank slumps beside me, eyes already empty, the life he gave, trying to warn me, extinguished. I blink slowly, darkness creeping at the edges of my vision, and let myself drift. The authority will claim an accident, a transit malfunction, 2 more workers tragically lost to technical errors. Maya will grieve quietly, never knowing the truth until someone brave enough watches my footage and sees beyond the lies. She'll grow up without me, stronger than I ever was. Her illness a battle she'll fight alone. But at least now she'll know she was never abandoned, never unloved. I did what I had to. Not for vengeance, not even justice, but simply because it needed doing. Because some truths deserve to see the light, no matter the price. As the final warmth leaves my body, I whisper into the silence, a promise drifting into darkness. I'm sorry, Maya. This was the only way I knew how to save you.